Marvel recently unveiled a deleted scene from Loki Season 2, and it's the kind of gem that gets MCU fans buzzing. On the surface, it seems like a casual Loki moment, but if you pay attention to the dialogue, it's packed with references that could reshape how we view the MCU's past and hint at its future. What's even more surprising is the timing. This scene comes to light a full year after Loki's Season 2 finale, making us wonder why it was kept under wraps for so long. Maybe Marvel was waiting for just the right moment to give us this sneak peek into Loki's perspective. In this scene, Loki reflects on people he's crossed paths with, and let's just say his list of problems reads like an MCU greatest hits album. These aren't random names. Each one represents someone he's impacted, either through his schemes, mischief, or outright cruelty. We've seen Loki's chaos in action, but hearing him name-drop these characters makes it more personal, as if he's finally taking stock of the damage he's done.
How can there be more?
Because there's so many people who said I was the problem.
Okay.
Nick Fury, Eric Selvig, Boar, Laufey, Amora, Jane Foster, Darcy Lewis, Maria Hill, we're going back a few years, but they're all there. Heimdall, Fandral, Volstagg, Hogan, Heimdall.
You just said that.
Heimdall was a big one.
Okay,
He got
but
very
you can't
upset.
you can't repeat it.
It's memorable. Absorbing Man. What about Donald Blake? Did I say him? Donald Blake is who Thor pretends to be when he goes to Earth. Speaking of which, Hercules, another big guy, that was a big problem for him.
Nick Fury is the first name Loki mentions, and it's no surprise why. Fury was practically running damage control during the Battle of New York, after Loki unleashed an alien invasion on Earth. Then there's Eric Selvig, the brilliant scientist who fell victim to Loki's mind control, turning him into a puppet for his plans. Loki even calls out Boar, his grandfather, and Laufey, his frost giant father, both of whom he's had complicated, and let's face it, messy relationships with. Jane Foster is another familiar name. Remember how Loki tormented her in Thor: The Dark World? And he doesn't stop there. He even mentions Darcy Lewis and Maria Hill, showing that Loki had a knack for leaving chaos in his wake, even among those who weren't directly involved in his schemes. He names Heimdall not once but twice, which is interesting because Heimdall was always watching Loki's every move. That repetition feels intentional, as if Loki knows he could never truly escape Heimdall's gaze or judgment. The Warriors 3, Fandral, Volstagg, and Hogan, also get a mention, which makes sense since they were often at odds with Loki's trickery back in Asgard. But here's where things get really intriguing. Loki mentions names that hardcore Marvel fans will recognize, but casual viewers might not. Amora, Donald Blake, Absorbing Man, and Hercules. Let's unpack these. Amora, better known as the Enchantress, is a sorceress with deep ties to Asgard in the Thor comics. She's known for her beauty, cunning, and magical prowess, often working alongside or against Loki, depending on her motives. Could Loki's mention of her hint at a future storyline involving magic, deception, or even a clash of egos? Absorbing Man is another name worth noting. We've seen him briefly in Agents of SIEQ, but in the comics, his backstory is tightly linked to Loki. Carl Creel, a boxer, gained his ability to absorb the properties of anything he touches thanks to Loki's interference. Imagine the drama if this connection were brought to life in the MCU. Donald Blake might feel like a throwback to comic lore, but it's a fascinating nod. In the comics, Odin created Donald Blake as a mortal alter ego for Thor, giving him a chance to learn humility. While the MCU skipped most of that storyline, we did see a nod to the name in the first Thor film, when Eric Selvig created a fake ID for Thor. Could this be a hint at revisiting Thor's human side, or exploring his identity in a deeper way? And then there's Hercules, who's already been introduced in the post-credits scene of Thor: Love and Thunder. Loki mentioning Hercules feels deliberate. Could this mean they've tangled in the past? And more importantly, could we see them square off or team up in the future? The idea of Hercules chasing Thor opens the door for Loki to be pulled into the mix. After all, wherever Thor goes, trouble and Loki tend to follow. What's fascinating about this scene is how it broadens the MCU's horizons while grounding it in Loki's unique perspective. It's not just about revisiting old characters, it's about teasing possibilities. Could Thor 5, rumored to be in development, bring these connections to life? Characters like Amora or Absorbing Man could easily fit into the storyline, and seeing Hercules go head-to-head with Thor, with Loki somewhere in the mix, would be a spectacle fans wouldn't want to miss. What do you think of these teases? Could this scene be laying the groundwork for Thor's next chapter, or is it simply a moment of self-reflection for Loki? Either way, it's a reminder of why Loki remains one of the most compelling characters in the MCU. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you love diving deep into Marvel's secrets and stories, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more updates.